Today's video is about fragrances for the festive season. I took a little bit of a different direction in my selections this year in thinking about fragrances that are appropriate for the festive season because there are some usual suspects that I happen to also love, but I've talked about them in previous videos. And I think a number of my peers here on YouTube have talked about them as well. And so you know about them. They are our beloved canon of festive fragrances. I will actually leave them in the pinned comment below. The usual suspects that are beautiful and easy and fun to wear for the holidays are fragrances like Angel Share from Kilian, Starlight from Xerjoff, Panettone from Milano Fragranza. Love that fragrance. Smells just like panettone bread. So delicious. Ojan from Parfums de Marly, Amber d'Alexandrie from Boucheron. Any of those fragrances that smell like the festive holiday season, the foods and the sort of spirit of the season. Oh my gosh, Ginger Biscuit from Joe Malone. I will definitely be spritzing on a bunch of those this holiday season, but I wanted to give you some other options that I think are really great for this time of year as well, regardless of whether you're staying home and enjoying your fragrance on your own or if you're going to be around other people at a party. Can I take a quick second just to share a great holiday memory from the past with my colleagues? And so I used to manage a big team of 30 people at a previous job, and I would invite them all to my house. And the event was called Come Wine and Stew with Friends Old and New. And so I would invite my entire staff and then people from other offices. So I'd have probably 50 or 60 people at my house. The introvert in me now cringes at the idea that I used to do that, but it was a lot of fun. And it was called the Wine and Stew Party because I would serve a lot of different kinds of holiday wines. And I would make probably six or seven big, huge crock pots of different kinds of soups and stews. So some of my favorites were the Zuppa Toscana imitation stew from Olive Garden. If you ever had that, it's so good with sausage and kale, and it's like a creamy soup. I would make a French onion soup. I would make a sausage and corn chowder stew. I would make a chicken chili, and I forget what else. There'd be like a whole or a beef stew and then a sixth one, I forget. And fresh breads and appetizers and everything. And it was so much fun to have all those people over. I can't tell you the amount of work that went into those crazy parties. I would plan for it for like a week in advance and probably clean up for a whole day or two following those. But anyway, my party days are over. The weekend that you're watching this, I'm having 3 of those same friends that I used to work with, that I'm still friends with. They're coming over to my house. I'm gonna do 1 stew. I'm gonna do the corn and sausage stew, which is so delicious, corn chowder and sausage. So good. And, fresh homemade French bread, and we're gonna drink some wine and have our stew, and it's just our little close group of 4 that have remained friends throughout the years since I have left. Oh my gosh, it has been a whole 8 years since I left that job and moved on to another career post, but we are still great friends. So after that long intro, let's talk about these festive holiday scents. So I have 8 fragrances and an honorable mention, and I'm going to talk about either the person or the mood or the scene that they match. And so again, some of these are maybe a little bit unusual for this category. I'm going to start off with this beautiful bottle here. This is La Belle Le Parfum, which is the flanker to the original La Belle from Jean-Paul Gaultier with the beautiful ombre effect on this bottle. I just find this to be such a delightful gradient of colors to look at. This is for the mature mamas in the audience, those of you that are maybe the matriarch of the family, or you might be the favorite aunt and you're coming over with a sleigh full of really great presents that all the kids are going to be happy to open up. You might be that aunt that gives people, the young kids, the $50 and the $100, and they're like 5 and 10 years old, and they're like, oh my God, this feels like so much money. Or you get them their favorite toy, or maybe you got that teenager their brand new phone, and they're just loving you for life because you're seen as the mature aunt or mom or even grandma who gives the best hugs and the best presents. I love this fragrance in lots of different ways, but the maturity of this fragrance without being old fashioned, I think is probably what I love the most. It's very heavy on like a candied pear. So I think of pear compote. I use that word a lot to describe the pear in this and the pear in La Belle as well, which is like a very cooked down, almost sugary, sweet, syrupy type of pear. And the thing about this fragrance that maybe is a little bit different, or a lot different rather than the original, is that the vanilla is very amped up in this fragrance to the point where it's nearly cloying. I love the memory association from my own childhood and seeing my aunts at family gatherings, when I was so short that they would hug me and they would draw me into like their bosom and their whole like body smelled like beautiful fragrances like this, sweet and feminine and enveloping, inviting, cozy, like warmth and femininity. Now, they also wore a lot of fragrances that were heavier on patchouli and shipper notes like mosses and that sort of thing. So there was some of that going on as well. But many also wore these sort of mature hug in a bottle types of fragrances like this. This is just so beautiful. It's got this gorgeous floral, like a really sweet floral in it as well. So this is like a modern version of those old school perfumes that reminded me of those big bear hugs that the older matriarchs in my family used to give me, where they would give me a hug and they would slip me like a $20 bill. Now, mind you, back in like 1982, 83, $20 felt like a lot of money. So these days you're slipping somebody like a 50 or even $100 bill if you're balling like that for the little kids in the family. Heavy on the sweet pear, as I mentioned, beautiful, delicious, almost tonka bean in the fragrance, vanilla, heavy on the vanilla, and there's also a jasmine note that is characteristic of this fragrance. And the jasmine is like thick. It doesn't smell, overly indolic or white floral. It just plays so nicely against the other sweet, almost like sickeningly sweet, cloying gourmand notes in this fragrance as well. So mature aunties, mamas, grandmas that want to give those really fantastic hugs that are memorable, this might be the fragrance for you. But I will also say, let me come back and say, this would also make a beautiful date night fragrance. If you think you're going to get proposed to, for example, you might want to wear this beauty out so that you are the belle. See what I did there? La belle, le parfum, the belle of the dinner. The next one gives me Hallmark movie vibes, or maybe you're home cuddled up by a fireplace, or you are going to some place where you're going to be outdoors. Maybe somebody's inviting you to like a backyard bonfire or sit around the fire pit kind of deal. You want to be cutesy. You got your cozy cashmere sweater on. You want to smell feminine, slightly edible, but not quite as mature as, say, La Belle Le Parfum, but kind of heading in that direction. Perhaps you are in your 20s or early 30s and you're not quite wetty. You're not quite, get your words together. You're not quite ready. Gosh, that was such a tongue twister for this like almost cloying sweet maturity of this. But you want to be cute, sweet, cute. Okay, I got it for you. This fragrance is really, really capturing my heart. It's the new one from Ledda. It is 20 Bourbon Brulée. It is darkening up as I own it. It is sort of blossoming and blooming as a fragrance in this bottle and becoming a little bit deeper and slightly darker, but not quite as dark and mature as this one. I love this. Okay, beautiful in gourmand territory without being super duper edible. It has this gorgeous, creamy, coconut, caramelly aspect to it with a booziness and a slight woodiness and this beautiful vanillic nature. I don't even know if vanilla is a note in the fragrance. I'm assuming so since it's darkening up. Let me look here. Yes, bourbon vanilla. Sorry. Bourbon vanilla. There's a thickness to it without being, like I said, as deep and almost sticky syrupy as this one. But there is a beautiful thickness to this density that is lovely for this time of year when it's nice and cold. And it's just such a cozy, slightly edible fragrance. Not overly sweet though. I think it's so nicely balanced with the woody and boozy tones and it's just delightful. The coconut, it says coconut milk, but for me it's like a coconut creaminess that is sweetened up with the caramel and the vanilla and all of the other notes that I think are just delightful in here. And it really, I mean, it's great for all ages. But I do picture a beautiful younger woman with her cozy cashmere sweater on. She's wearing jeans and riding boots. It's that kind of a vibe. It's the fall vibe. Like you talk about, it's the pumpkin spice latte in the fall, right? And if you take that vibe and transform it into winter tones with the caramel and the booziness and the coconut milk, that is this. Really, really lovely, lovely. And on the affordable side for fragrance prices these days at retail, this is right under $100. And she runs a lot of deals on her site. Stephanie Letta, who is a YouTuber, is the owner of, or is she the owner? I don't even know. She's the founder, something, head of Letta Fragrances. For this next fragrance, maybe you are doing nighttime or really cold during the day outdoor events. You're going ice skating, perhaps you're visiting New York to see the Rockefeller Center tree. I didn't get to see the lighting this year, but my sister was there and she had a blast. One year soon, I will go see the lighting of the tree, but it wasn't this year. Maybe you are in New York and going on a carriage ride through Central Park. Perhaps you are in your neighborhood and going door to door caroling. Do people do that still? I know that they do. They don't do it in my neighborhood. Perhaps you are going to the Christmas parade in your town and you're going to be outdoors. The weather's cold and you want something heavy and hearty and substantial that's going to cut through the cold and maybe be a little bit interesting to the people around you. I would say try Chelsea Nights from Bond number 9. Bond number 9. There's a lot of complexity to this fragrance, so I wanna share some of the notes here for you that shine through for me. Let me hold this up and try to sniff and look at the notes together at the same time. And so a lot of people pick up a chocolatey nuance in this fragrance. There's cacao in the fragrance and hazelnut that give it that sort of chocolatey ribbon running throughout. Saffron, there's a lot of heavy notes in this fragrance. Saffron, suede, there's a patchouli base to this fragrance with vanilla and myrrh and tonka and oud. So the fragrance has a very, very substantial base to it. I mean, like this stands on business, if you will, literally and figuratively stands on some kind of fragrance note business. It is dense and thick and has a lot of body to it. And then you get that saffron chocolatiness on top with some floral nuances. Rather unique. This is a fragrance that when I have worn it in public a few times, gotten compliments on it. You don't have to spray a lot, but if you do spray a lot, you're going to be smelled for miles around. It's got a lot of projection, a lot of presence, and people seem to really enjoy this in the air. It's captivating, a little mesmerizing, slightly mysterious, but definitely appropriate for even daytime in very cold weather. And so, if you're going to be outdoors and you want your fragrance to cut through the cold air and be enjoyed by people around you and be seasonally appropriate with that chocolatiness, that sort of suede, patchouli, leathery aspect in the base, with the oud. Did I say oud already? It's got some nice, beautiful oud in it, but still have femininity from the florals. This might be a beautiful one to try out. Is anybody dog sledding? Is that like a thing? Are people dog sledding in Arctic countries? Chelsea Nights might be a good one to wear for that. The next two fragrance are for those of you that do like Angel Share and the like, Ojan and those types of spicy fall winter fragrances, but you're ready for something new, different. You want to graduate to a different category, like up your game a little bit. I mean, I still love those fragrances and will wear them. Cult at Night, all of those kinds of fragrances. These next two are for you if you're looking for something similar but with a different twist. I did talk about this one, I think, in last year's festive fragrances video. I'll try to remember to link that below if you're interested in sort of binge watching this type of fun holiday content. This is from Omnia Profumi. This is called Bronzo. I believe these are the old bottles, and the newer bottles are like the apple shape ones. And I got this off of Mercari and love this. This is really different and interesting. This fragrance, let me read you some of the notes here. So, there aren't many fragrances that have clove that I love as a note. I like to cook with cloves. I remember smelling clove cigarettes all through college. My roommates smoked clove cigarettes, and for a long time I had just that negative association because she smoked clove cigarettes. But how did I get off on that tangent? The clove in this is beautiful, as is the clove in Dolce Amalfi from Xerjoff. That's another beautiful fragrance for the holidays if you want something like that. Anyway, there's a beautiful clove and cinnamon that give it this spicy aspect and a lot of warmth. Vanilla, amber, tobacco blossom, leather. I don't smell leather in this fragrance, to be honest, or maybe I do. I do smell clove cigarettes with not cigarettes, the clove, like you smell in clove cigarettes, with cinnamon and just it smells like a Christmas store. When you walk into a Christmas store, I know what this smells like. I know exactly what this smells like. The home for the holidays Yankee Candle. The spiciness from that with vanilla added in. Because I couldn't just wear the spiciness out of the candle, it's too much. But when you add in vanilla to soften it up, then it's a wearable, beautiful holiday scent. So, Bronzo, if you're looking for something spicy for the holidays that isn't the same old that we keep hearing about and wearing, because I still love all of those scents as well. And then if you wanted something not quite so literal spicy, like a holiday candle type of deal, and you're into mature fragrances, you want a little bit of a powerhouse for the events. You want to stand out from the family reunion that's going to get together on Christmas or New Year's or whatever. Amouage Crimson Rocks might be a great choice for you. The main difference is that this has a nice woody aspect to it. Oh gosh, it still has the cinnamon and it has a lot of just like a spiciness to it, but it's also very rosy and very woody. The rose in here is on the mature side. So think about a rose that has blossomed and sat for a while. It's got a lot of sort of fragrant smell that it's kicking up. It's not like a young, dewy, fresh rose. This is a more mature holiday rose with this gorgeous woodiness. There's also a little bit of pepperiness. I'm looking at the notes here, pink pepper and honey. So sweetness and the spiciness from the cinnamon and pepper and maybe other spices that are not announced in the note structure. Beautiful. If I didn't know what was in this, I would tell you that it was spicy and woody and rosy. Those stand out to me. And very long lasting, very potent, very projecting. And so you need to want to stand out when you wear this fragrance and also definitely Chelsea Nights. These really, really take over a space the more you spray, right? Okay, so let's go on to some other moods for the holidays. This next fragrance has this elegance to it, and yet there is this sort of playful aspect from a spicy citrus nature to it. It's a vanilla fragrance. It's one that the original we all know and have heard of, and some of us love, and some of us think it's too much. I am referring to Nishane Ani X, which is beautiful to pull out here for the holiday season. I imagine wearing this to a midnight mass. And for those of you that attend temple, I could see wearing this to temple. If you want to smell fresh and spicy, yet huggable and warm and cozy for the holiday season from the spicy vanilla nature to this, the freshness comes from citrus and particularly lemon and ginger. And I forget what other citrusy notes are in the fragrance. So the original Ani is gorgeous, a little bit too spicy and a little bit too much of a punch in the face on the opening of that one. This one I find to be very elegant and wearable throughout, but it has this sort of fun playfulness to it from the citrus aspect as well. Totally appropriate for group environments. If you spritz lightly and if you want to stand out from the crowd, hey, spritz away. It has some nice projection and longevity, but I do find this to be a rounder, gentler scent than the original Ani. But so mass comes to mind. Any occasion where you are dressing up and going out with the family and or friends, it's not necessarily a party environment. Of course, you can wear this to a party as well, but it is a place where you're going to be surrounded by other people and you want to stand out and smell elegant, but a little playful as well. Yeah, I think this is wonderful for those kinds of more maybe sort of more formal affairs where you're going to be dressed up but not quite in a party atmosphere. The image that comes to mind for this next fragrance for me is the times around the holidays, maybe the morning of Christmas or maybe Christmas Eve. It's still dark. You've got a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or some hot cocoa. You are maybe wrapped up in your robe and you want to smell warm and cozy, but slightly alluring and intoxicating as well, like that perfect combination of innocent warmth and come hitherness. I love for something like that a Vanille Fatale or similar fragrances. This one is from Tom Ford, and it is considered like a warm, spicy. Some people find this smoky. I don't think it's smoky for me, although some people pick that up. Vanilla resinous fragrance. I I love this. It very much reminds me of a fragrance that you would wear under a cozy sweater. I'm imagining being curled up on the couch watching Christmas movies, maybe even watching scary movies during the holidays if you do those kinds of marathons. My gosh, we watched a movie last night called Smile 2. I didn't see Smile 1. Has anybody seen these movies? Smile 2 is the one that I watched. It was pretty intimidating at first and then just ended horribly. It was like there's times when like a movie jumps the shark. Like it gets so dumb in the end that it's so not believable and it's lost me because it has become a joke. It's so stupid, the storyline. So anyway, this reminds me of last night We actually started off the evening, sorry, sidebar story, with a telescope that we took outside. My son has a really nice telescope, and we were looking at Jupiter, which was supposed to be the brightest that it has been all year in the night sky. We could see Jupiter and we could see it in the telescope, and it was super cool, like to witness the celestial bodies out there in the night. But we were out there like curled up in blankets, watching Jupiter shine and in all of its glory in the nighttime sky. And right before that, we were indoors watching the Smile 2 movie. That would have been a great time to wear something like Vanille Fatale when you want to feel cozy and enveloping and cocooning and have just a little bit of allure and sexiness to you. So, Vanille Fatale is beautiful for that. There's so many notes in this fragrance that it doesn't even make sense to list them, but a few. Vanilla, there's booziness from rum notes, myrrh, tobacco, coffee, floral notes, fruity notes. Just goes on and on the list. It's like a kitchen sink combination of fragrances, but the net effect, friends, is warm, resinous, inviting, slightly alluring and sexy, like I said, but not overtly so. This is like an introverted sexy here. Really, really fantastic. And it's softer to the skin, FYI, and not very projecting, not super duper long lasting. It's a moderate wear deal. So definitely for a night in or a cozy breakfast. And then I'm thinking about like New Year's Eve. I don't go to New Year's Eve parties. I'm trying to think, did I ever go to a New Year's Eve party? I think I dreamed about going to like New Year's Eve balls and so forth, but never have. I spent New Year's Eve with friends when I was younger, but these days we're just in with the family. And quite frankly, I am asleep more often than not when the ball drops, when midnight strikes on New Year's Eve than I used to be. But if I were to go to a party, I would wanna smell festive and light. I would wanna smell, like, effervescent, bright, fun, fresh, not necessarily like a strong, mature scent like La Belle Le Parfum. I would tend to I would wanna smell like a silvery, sparkly, fun dress looked. And so the fragrance that comes to mind is an oldie but a goodie, and that is AMO FERRAGAMO. That's what came to mind when I looked across my collection. This one stood out to me as the fun, festive New Year's Eve scent. This smells fresh and citrusy and sparkly. It's almost like a champagne smell. Like if you've put your nose in a freshly poured champagne glass and it's fizzy and there's bubbles and there's this sort of fruity freshness to it. That's what comes to mind for this. So a few of the notes in this fragrance, there's a Campari note, which is supposed to add that sort of sparkly, bright nature to it. Black currant, a little bit of rhubarb, there's vanilla, there's sandalwood, but by and large, this comes across as a sparkly, fresh effervescence in a bottle. Slight fruitiness, slightly tart, bubbly, happy, and just reminds me of the image of parties when the clock strikes 12 and people are clinking champagne glasses, living their best lives. And, people are singing Old Lang Syne and hugging each other, and they're blowing those like party things that, blow out and make the horn noises, all of that. So, this is my pick for a New Year's Eve feeling. I do have one honorable mention before I close. I ended up selling this fragrance. You might remember that it was challenging for me to wear, although I thought it was beautiful and I've talked about it in videos before. So I would recommend it for people that like what I'm about to describe. It's from Kerosene. It's called Winter of 99. So here's a description from the perfumer. It was the end of the 90s and Detroit was pummeled by a snowstorm as panic ensued over Y2K. Who remembers all of that? Lord, I remember it. Were the heat and lights ever going to come back on? Refuge under a cozy blanket with a mug in hand. It was the winter of 99. So the key notes here are smoldering vanilla. So I think about like a smoky vanilla, woods, molasses, and nutmeg. And so a lot of people describe this fragrance as smelling like a log cabin and molasses cookies cooking. And I think that that's about right with a lot of vanilla as well. There was something about the fragrance that was a little bit challenging for me to wear. And so as new fragrances came in, I ended up selling that one to a happy new home. I hope the person is really enjoying it. And if you like the idea of the inside of a log cabin smell with molasses cookies and the spiciness of nutmeg, I would say give Winter of 99 a chance. You can definitely get samples on the Kerosene website. And I think Lucky Scent sells kerosene samples as well. Let me know your thoughts on these fragrance selections and the matching of like a mood or a person or a scene with these scents. Are you celebrating the holidays? And if so, what are some of the scents you're looking forward to wearing during this time of year? Let us know in the comments. If you're here at the end of the video, please drop us some kind of celebration emoji down in the comments. It can be a Christmas tree, it can be a star, it can be, the megaphone with the sparklies coming out of it. Whatever makes sense to you as a celebration emoji, drop it in the comments. I hope you have a fantastic holiday season if you celebrate, and a restful one regardless. And stay tuned for some of the end of year roundup videos that are coming of various top 10s. Take care, friends.